Hey guys, today is July 4th, another one of them hot, steamy days out here. Kind of doing something a little bit different than I did last year for July 4th. I spent most of the day picking vegetables, shucking corn. This year I'm going to concentrate a little bit on some planting. This garden behind me is where I had this 10 rows of snaps and a row of squash at. I've mowed that stuff down now, tilled it up, getting my rows laid off. I'm going to try to do some planting this year on the 4th as opposed to so much picking. The first thing I want to do is talk about last night. I had mentioned the radio show with Bexarprepper on prepperbroadcasting.com. That was a lot of fun last night. About an hour and a half of talking with different people that I knew from YouTube, their comments and things like that. But to be able to talk to them person to person on the phone, so to speak, that was pretty cool. There was a lot of very good questions in there. Some that made me think, as I said before, I'm not a horticulture expert. I don't have those degrees, sheepskins, all that kind of stuff. I just have what I know in front of me. And what I want to do right now is go over those questions and show you firsthand and talk about why I gave the answers that I did. Most of y'all know Paula Allen 2045. She asked a very good question about reusing potting mixes and what did I do with this stuff. And in the past, what I would do a lot of times was just take these grow bags and dump them in the garden. But as I've looked at it and thought about it, there's a lot of money that goes into buying that potting mix and stuff, and it makes sense to me to try to get another run of a crop out of it. So what I'm going to do is take these bags right here, I'll bring the backhoe around here and just dump all the bags in the front bucket, mix them up. I'll mix some more compost in it, and I'll throw some cottonseed meal, the bone meal, and whatever type of nutrients I think of at the time to try to get some stuff in there to allow these things to grow for a longer time without me trying to supplement them. Some slow release stuff I think would be very good to have in there. When you go to the store and whatever your brand potting mix is, it's not going to be cheap either way. And being able to get multiple uses out of it, at least 2 uses, would basically cut your cost in half and make it a lot more affordable for most people. After I finish up this second run with this mix, then I'll probably go ahead and dump it outside in the garden or maybe in one of the raised beds or something like that. But I want to get at least one more use out of this mix before I'm done with it. Another very good question that was asked, and I didn't even have to pause on this one whatsoever. I knew exactly what the answer was. If there was one plant that I could learn how to grow or I hadn't been able to grow, what would it be? And it would be this right here. These Moringa. I have read everything about them. I know that it would be beneficial if I could get these things in the big bushes and just come by and be able to get the leaves off by the handfuls and dry these things out with the vitamins and minerals, nutrients that are in these things. It would be very good for me to be able to do that. So I'm not really feeding them a whole lot. They're from a desert climate, so they don't need much. I try to give them a little bit of water, but not too much. As far as keeping the mites off of them, I'll take the hose and spray up under these things real good and just try to keep everything disrupted so they never get back in charge again. This one over here has the flowers coming on it, growing kind of crooked, almost looks like a bonsai tree growing over there. And this one, this is the prettiest one right here. That's a really nice looking little tree, but you see, I don't have a lot of growth to it. It is very hot in here, and that should be what they want. But I'm not going to give up on them. They look pretty good right now, so I'm going to stick with it and see if I can't do a better job. But that would be the one plant that I would want to try to be able to grow. I was asked this question basically in a worst case scenario. If I had to pick 3 items that I would not want to be caught without as far as helping my garden, what would those be? And one of them is something that I think the first one is something that I don't have right now that I really need to get. And that would be chickens. If you're going to grow a garden, I think the biggest thing that you need is some way to fertilize that soil. Having chickens would allow me to take the chicken manure and whatever I had else bedding mixed in with it, whether it be straw, wood chips, or whatever I had chose to put in there, whatever I had, and put that on my garden to be able to make the garden grow, to grow vegetables to feed me, and I could take the excess out of the garden, use that to feed the chickens. If they were layers and were laying eggs, I would get the eggs from it. If they weren't, it might not be a bad idea to just have them for the manure. Ideally, I would like to have a source of horse manure. Y'all know that. But for me to bring horses around here and try to feed a big whatever 2-ton horse or whatever they weigh, trying to grow or just get some manure, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So I would start, number one, with chickens and chicken manure and being able to fertilize the garden. Number two would probably involve Neem or some other insecticidal soap, something that you can mix up a solution and make your own insect spray with. What I try to do, whatever you're doing any kind of prepping, you need to try to look at things that serve a multiple purpose. If you have something like neem oil, it's a good insecticide and does a real good job. It has some fungicide assets to it also to help with the powdery mildew and things like that. And it says also a miticide. I think it may have helped a little bit down there on those Moringa. I haven't put a whole lot on them because I didn't want to coat the leaves with a bunch of oil. Some other things that you can do, you know, as far as oils go, you can use Murphy's oil soap. That does a pretty decent job, or a lot of people just use a Dawn dishwashing liquid. And the thing I would say about Dawn, it does a good job, like the Neem, of suffocating the little smaller insects. A lot of insects just don't like it. Plus, if you're in a situation where you don't have the ability to get insecticides to spray on your garden, that means you're going to be a whole lot of going down the road, picking bugs off and squishing them in your hand, and you're going to need something to wash your hands with. That Dawn will take it off there real quick. One more thing that will serve multiple purposes is baking soda right here. Everybody knows by now a tablespoon of baking soda in a gallon of water to help some of your blight problems. Again, with blight though, one of the most important things is just to maintain those plants properly. Get the leaves up off the ground, all your tomato leaves, get them off the ground, clean up the inside, let that plant get some air, and try to keep the leaves as dry, water from the bottom. But if you do get blight, you can use baking soda to help control that. Keeping in mind with the multiple purposes of the baking soda, you're going to use your baking soda in the kitchen. Somebody's going to be in the house or maybe out on the wood stove or in the oven there then doing some baking. They're going to need some baking soda. And also, if the crap has hit the fan and we're living off of a whole bunch of beans and rice, y'all know what happens when you eat a whole lot of beans. Might be a good idea to have a little bit of baking soda to put in that pot of beans and tone down that gas just a little bit. One more thing on the Dawn, Murphy's oil, stuff like that, any kind of soap mixture, if you can mix it in with something else, some other insecticide or something that you make up yourself, maybe your pepper spray, it's going to help that compound stick to the leaves a whole lot better and make it a lot more effective. These are some Trinidad scorpions right here, and I could take just a few of these, mix it up and make me some pepper spray and put a little bit of that Dawn dishwashing liquid in there and spray it on the plants. Not only would it deter the insects, but I don't think there would be any deer or rabbit coming wanting to eat some pepper-laced lettuce. I don't think they would mess with it. A lot of people have problems with squash bugs, and generally they'll wait till they see the eggs being laid on top of the leaves. This row of squash down here looks really good. I don't see any squash bugs whatsoever. But if you see them laying eggs up on the leaves, it doesn't do much good to come in and spray this surface right here. What you need to do is get your spraying down here at the trunk of this plant. That's where those squash bugs are going to be hanging out at. They'll be down there mating and doing their little thing. If you're going to do some spraying, you're better off open this thing up and do it down there the first 10 inches or so down there, right at the base of the plant. Soak that really good with whatever your choice of insecticide is, and that will help out a whole lot with those squash bugs. Another thing that you can do, like I mentioned last night, I've seen Navajo Paw 31 do the same thing. If you have the ability to do it, come in here and water the bottom of these things real good, especially cucumbers, smaller leaves where you can see exactly what's going on. Flood the bottom with water, and every insect that's on the ground is going to come up to the top trying to dry off. And when they come up to the top, you just nail them in. Same thing with the vine borer, if you have to deal with that, spray and soak the trunk of that plant and you'll have a lot more success. A couple more questions real quick as far as what type of growing somebody should do, what would be best in the ground or raised beds, hydroponic, whatsoever. I'll say this. Mankind will never be able to beat growing directly in the ground. That's the way God made it to be, and you will always be able to grow better quality vegetables directly in the soil, especially if you have took the time to put something natural back into that and gotten it composted very well. So whether it be 200-foot long rows out there in the field or raised beds in your backyard, if you've got good soil in it, that will always be the best way to go. However, I really like hydroponics, being able to just almost automate it. The vegetables, the lettuce and the tomatoes that I grew had very good taste to them. There's some question about maybe they don't have quite the nutritional value that soil-based plants have, and I'd have to agree, you know, it makes sense, but as far as taste goes, they were extremely good. And when you're in a situation where you're simply just trying to feed people, hydroponics makes a lot of sense. If you've got nothing but a concrete backyard or a patio or something, if you're in a townhouse, apartment, and you don't have room for a yard, you can set up a little Dutch bucket system, maybe some deep water culture, rails or whatever, and you can grow a decent amount of food in a very small space. Same thing with grow bags and containers and things like that. You got to just basically look at the space that you have or whatever you have to work with and figure out which one of those methods is going to allow you to optimize everything that you have and get the most production out. Again, thanks to everybody who stopped by last night. I know it was a holiday weekend and folks are busy, but that was pretty cool. I enjoyed it, had a lot of fun there. This is some of the things that we talked about. As I said, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I can only tell you what I have learned by playing in the soil and getting these two hands dirty right here. Y'all take care, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time.